Welcome back to the channel. As a recent bride and a full-time wedding photographer, I'm here to tell you 10 wedding tips that no one is talking about. So the first wedding tip, and this is for the start of your planning, is make your guest count and budget before booking the venue. A lot of people are anxious to get a venue quickly. You want to make sure they're not booked up yet, but if you book the venue before knowing your guest count and your budget, it's gonna cause a lot of problems in the future. You may book a venue, but then you make your guest count and realize you have a lot of extra space that you don't need. Or you book your venue and you think, I can go cheap on the other vendors, we can totally make it work. But then as you're starting to reach out and get quotes, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? We've already spent half of the budget on the venue alone. And so make sure that you make that guest count and budget, know what you're signing up for before signing with a venue. The second thing no one is telling you as you're wedding planning is that the guests who matter don't care, and the guests who care don't matter. This is such a good mantra to have as you're planning your wedding. You may just have those thoughts creep in of like, what will this person think about this? Or what are my guests going to think about that? Don't let the thoughts of other people's opinions influence your wedding decisions. It is your wedding and it's about what you want. So don't think about anyone else's opinion. The guests who care don't matter, and the guests who matter don't care. The third thing that no one's telling you with wedding planning is that DIY is much harder than it looks. I feel like I see so many videos online where people are like, oh, I can make that instead of spending hundreds of dollars. But the time and all of the supplies and the tools you need to use and all of the stress that comes with all those things is sometimes not worth it. In fact, I'm gonna say a lot of times not worth it. Next week, I'm releasing a video about DIY wins and fails to help you save time as you decide what you might want to make and what is not worth your time. So make sure to subscribe so that you can check that video out. The fourth wedding thing that no one's talking about is first looks can feel staged. Now, hear me out. I want to be honest with you. A lot of times, the first moment doesn't feel very natural. But the moments afterward where you and your soon-to-be spouse get to just chat with one another, like after that photo and the turnaround happens, you actually get those moments to chat with each other, to see each other, and even to spend more time with one another and with your guests during cocktail hour and later on when you would have a lot of portraits to take. And so it can be such a special moment, but I also don't want you to have an unrealistic expectation of like, oh, this magical moment. Like sometimes it starts off a little awkward and that's okay. But I want to make sure that you understand this before going into it and as you're deciding between a first look and seeing each other at the altar. They're both amazing options and you just have to think about what is my priority. Is it that time together beforehand? Like both of us are nervous and we get to see each other and we get to spend more time with our guests? Or is it, I just want that big anticipation moment coming down the aisle, and you have to decide what is important to you. Both are beautiful options, but I just want to be honest with you about it because I don't think a lot of people share that. My fifth wedding tip that no one's telling you is that your bridal party is there to help you. It's not just a bunch of friends that you want to have there on your wedding day. These are people that you can count on that are going to be making sure you have everything you need, making sure you have water to drink, making sure they're handling your phone or your chapstick or deodorant. They are there to be your attendants as you get married. So before the wedding day, make sure to write down the list of tasks that you need your bridal party to do and delegate those to the people that you can trust to help you out with those important details. And my next tip, number 6, is a little bit controversial. It also has to do with your bridal party. So a lot of people opt to have their whole bridal party standing up with them during the ceremony. And while this can be beautiful, you can incorporate the colors of the bridesmaid dresses you chose and have those special people standing there with you. I personally prefer when the bridal party sits in the front row, but they don't stand up with you. This isn't talked about a lot, but my opinion is that if you're having bridal parties of like 10, 12 or more people, the chances that they're all going to be in your life 10 years from now, 20 years from now, are pretty slim, let's just be honest. Maybe you choose some family members and those people you know are probably gonna be in your life forever, but friends, coworkers, people you've only known for a few years, you may not want them in your wedding photos for the rest of your life. As a photographer, I just think about those photos and the faces that you want in those wedding photos, and I think it should be the most about the two of you. I just wanna give you that piece of advice. You can take it or leave it, but that's my 6th tip for you. This 7th wedding tip I had never heard of before until I saw it at one of the bridal showers that I was capturing. I so wish that I knew this one before my wedding. It would have saved me like dozens of hours. One of my brides this year that I was capturing her bridal shower, she actually had each guest at her bridal shower address their own envelope so that when she went to send out their thank you notes, they had already addressed it themselves. She didn't have to worry about having the right address or writing down every single person's names and addresses. She already had that on the envelopes. And they used those envelopes and did a little raffle with them so all the guests could put in their envelope and a name was pulled for a prize. But please, I so recommend doing this. It will save you a lot of time when you send the thank you notes out for the bridal shower and the wedding too. Have them fill out a few envelopes if you want to. This is such an underrated tip and I had never heard it before, so I hope this helps you as well. The 8th tip that I don't see people talking about enough is get premarital counseling before your wedding day. There's a study out that says that couples that get premarital counseling have a 30% lower divorce rate. It's so worth it to invest not only in your wedding, but in your marriage. The 9th tip that no one might have told you is that you don't have to leave for your honeymoon the day after your wedding. In fact, I really recommend that you don't, especially if there's flights involved or a lot of travel, because your wedding is such a big day and there's so much to do to prepare for it, and you're gonna be probably exhausted the next day from partying hard and having a great time with the people you love. And so the stress and the added pressure of having to be packed up and ready to go on a whole trip immediately after one of the biggest days of your life can be a lot. It doesn't have to be the same as other people. Maybe you want to have brunch with some of your visiting relatives the next day, or maybe you want to get a hotel that's just a little bit away from your guests so that you're already starting off just a relaxing day, having a few nights in a hotel or somewhere close to your wedding afterwards so that you can just relax and then book the trip and then hop on the flight the day or two after you've relaxed a little bit and decompressed from the big day. The last thing I want to tell you, if no one's told you this yet, it is so normal to change your mind throughout the wedding planning. We have so many different outlets of resources and other people's weddings to look at. And so sometimes in that overload of ideas and inspiration, you can start to second guess some of the decisions you made. Maybe you start thinking like, why did I choose this color scheme? Or I wish I did this instead. Don't second guess yourself. You made decisions based on what you liked. And so as you see so many other options and ideas, don't second guess yourself. It's so normal to start having those thoughts of, I wish I did this differently, but ultimately what you are going to care about on your wedding day is just the joy of celebrating your love and being with the people who love you. I'm here to help you all along the way in your wedding planning. Please like and subscribe so that we can help a lot more brides. If you enjoyed this video, here's another one I think you'll like.